Hello everyone, I welcome you all to another lecture with Zenith Academy Online. I am Shravika Jamnik and I will be your teacher for today. Today we are going to learn the chapter 1 of Science of Class 6 CBSE. It is Science Around You. So let's begin. In today's world, we enjoy a lot of comfortable things. We have a lot of food around us, a variety of food. We have a lot of amazing, delicious fruits and vegetables. And we have new techniques to produce the food that we eat, new techniques to develop the crops so that they are better and they are tastier. We have new techniques to make fruits and lots of fruits in a large quantity. We also have a lot of medical equipments. We have a lot of medicines and injections to prevent spread of lot of dangerous diseases. We have different modes of transportation. We have ships. We can go by a two-wheeler. We can go by a rickshaw. There's taxi, a bus. Then there is a metro, monorail. There are trains and aeroplanes. We have so many different ways of transporting from one place to the other. We also can forecast the weather. Is today going to be sunny? Is today going to be cloudy? Should I go out today? Is it going to rain today? And all this is possible because of science. Science is everywhere. It is all around us. Everything that you see, there is possibly an explanation for it, or there is possibly an explanation to the working of things all around us, to everything that you see. So, science is everywhere. But what is science? Science is the system of acquiring and organizing knowledge by using scientific method. So scientific method we will be learning very soon. But science is called as the system of acquiring. That means you get some knowledge from somewhere and then you organize whatever knowledge you have gained by using a scientific method. If you are doing this, then it's called science. You use a lot of observation and experiments to explain and describe natural phenomena. So whenever you're making an observation, you have made an observation, now you're going to perform certain experiments related to the observation that you have made, and you explain the working of some natural phenomena, then in that case it's called science. For example, the simple growing of a plant, how plants germinate, how from a seed a plant grows, all this comes under first there will be an observation, then there will be an experiment, and we are describing a natural phenomena, that is the growing of plants. So that also is science. How amazing is that, right? Now let's learn what the scientific method is. The scientific method is identifying a problem. First you see what the problem is, then you observe and gather information regarding the problem. Then you find some possible explanation for a problem, and that possible explanation is called a hypothesis. Then you do some experimental verification of the assumption, the possible explanation that you have formed to problem. Then we reach a definite conclusion, and then this hypothesis, when it is when experiments are done and it is found to be correct, it is called as a theory. So let's see this with the help of an example. What is a scientific method? A very basic example is when a very young mother observes her baby and she sees that his behavior is different. He is not his usual cheery self. He is looking dull and there seems to be some change in the behavior. When the mother goes close to the baby starts crying. And then she realizes maybe something is wrong. Maybe the baby is facing some problem. So here we have defined our problem. Now, what does the mother do? The mother goes to the baby, she touches the baby's forehead, and she sees that it is a little warm. She will then talk to some relatives to see what it can be, what this problem can be. And then she finds her hypothesis. The relatives suggest that maybe the baby has a fever. When she touches the forehead, it is warm, it is maybe on the hotter side, and then she also thinks that maybe my baby has a fever. Then, what the mother will do? She will read a bit about it. How does a fever occur, or what is the temperature of fever in a baby? She has found a problem that her baby is not behaving as his usual self. She has a hypothesis that maybe he has a fever. She has done her observation. First, she has checked the baby's forehead, then, she has also read some books. And now, what she will do is she will experiment. That is, she will put a thermometer in the baby's mouth to see if the temperature is high. And yes, the temperature indeed is high. It is 100.4, which is definitely a fever in a baby. So now her hypothesis was maybe the baby has fever, and yes, the baby has fever. That's why it is now a theory. So please go over this example again and try to identify the problem, hypothesis, and theory and see if you understand it well. Now let's move on to how does a scientist work. We came to know how day to day we can experience science. Now let's see scientists for whom science is a profession. Let's see how they work. They will first state a problem. They will find a problem. They will see what exactly is the problem, and they will state it that so this is the problem that I have found. Then the next step, they will make observation and measurements and consult books and journals to collect information regarding a problem. So when they find a problem, what they will do is they will make observations. They will see what is happening around the problem, and they will take measurements if it requires measurements. They will consult a book whether this problem already has a solution. They will see journals, and they will collect information regarding the problem. Everything about the problem now they will know with the help of observation. Then they will create a hypothesis, that is, a possible explanation to the problem. That means now the scientist knows a problem. He will have maybe one or two hypotheses. So it can be why is this happening? So there can be one explanation, why is this happening? Maybe this is the reason, or there can be another explanation that maybe this is the reason this problem is happening. So now the scientist has two hypotheses that maybe it's happening because of this, or the problem is occurring because of this. Then the scientist will carry out experiments to check if the hypothesis is correct or not. Is the hypothesis, he will check why it is happening, how it is happening. He will do all sorts of experiments to come to a conclusion about the problem that he had stated. If the hypothesis is correct, his problem and his hypothesis is now a theory or a law. And if the hypothesis is incorrect, he will have to move towards a new hypothesis. So that is how a scientist works. Now let's see the branches of science. This branch is called physical science, and physical science deals with study of physical world around us. So here we can see that physical science observes the structure and property of all non-living things. Non-living things, when non-living things are observed and experimented upon, it is called as physical science. Non-living things will include man-made objects all around us, like your table, the chair you are sitting on, the pen you are using, maybe the roads or glasses, everything around you. And natural non-living things will include the sky, sun, moon, mountains, clouds, rain, all of that. So now let's see what is physical science bifurcated into. Physical science is divided into two forms, that is physics and chemistry. Physics is the study of matter and energy, and chemistry is the study of composition and behavior of matter. So when we see a glass door, a sliding door, the movement of the glass door, where it is stopping, how it is stopping, because of what it is stopping, all this comes under physics, the study of matter and energy. And chemistry is more to do with the composition of the matter. For example, here we are observing the glass door, and this is the chemical composition of glass. This is basically what glass is composed of on a very minute atomic level, molecular level. Okay, so this is the difference between science and chemistry. They are very interesting branches of science. Now that we have seen uh, what is physical science, it is the study of non-living things. Let's see what is the study of living things. The study of living things is called biological, natural, or life science. Biological science is the study of living things. It is divided into botany and zoology. Botany is the study of plants, and zoology is the study of animals. So, botany is the study of plants, and zoology. Zoo, we say we are going to the zoo, and what are we going to see in the zoo? We are going to see animals. So, zoology is the study of animals. Now we know the branches of science. These branches are also further divided into other branches of science. But we will we'll get to it in later stages when we are learning science. Now let's move on to some very prominent Indian scientists. The first one is Jagdish Chandra Bose. He was born in 1858 and he studied radio waves and sensitivity in plants. Next is C.V. Raman, a very well known scientist again. He won a Nobel Prize for physics as well, and he discovered the Raman effect, which explains certain behavior of light, certain scattering of light. So that is what he discovered and got a Nobel Prize for. Third one is S.N. Bose. He studied tiny particles called elementary particles, and the term boson is also derived from his name. He also worked with another well known scientist known as Einstein. So he also developed the Bose Einstein statistics. M.N. Saha, he was a physicist and he developed the Saha equation, which related the temperature of stars with two different kinds of light and other rays that were emitted. Homi Bhabha, again a very well known scientist. He was a physicist and he worked on atomic energy. He also is the founder of atomic energy research in India. Vikram Sarabhai. Vikram Sarabhai is a physicist and he made a lot of contribution to research in India, research based on space. Everything that is out of Earth that comes under space. He made a lot of contribution to research of that kind of study. Everything out of Earth, everything even including Earth, actually all the celestial bodies around us, all of that comes under space, and he made a lot of contribution in the study of that. H. G. Khorana, he won a Nobel Prize for his study in medicine, which was related to genes. So sometimes you casually say that this is in someone's genes. To be naughty is genetic for him. He gets it from his father, gets it from his mother. To be very intelligent, it must be in his genes. Maybe his parents are very intelligent. This passing down of certain characteristics of a parent from a child, this is in the genes that we have in our body, in the DNA, and he studied a lot about this. You will also learn a lot about this thanks to Ed G. Khurana. APJ Abdul Kalam, he was also referred to the people's president. He is one of the most loved presidents of our country. Very intelligent man, and he made a lot of contribution to the development of missiles in India. Some of these missiles were Agni and Prithvi. Now let's move to some of the scientists from other countries. Archimedes. Archimedes was a Greek physicist long, long, long ago, and he described the laws of floating and sinking. For example, here, this was his basic principle actually. Whenever something is put on water, it does not readily sink, it does not readily go down. Some objects float as well. Why is this? This phenomena was explained by this guy, Archimedes. Galileo, he was the first one to observe space with the help of a telescope, and he also discovered the principle of working of pendulum. Isaac Newton, again very famous physicist, and he was a physicist as well as a mathematician, and he discovered the law of gravity and law of motion. Very famous story that he was sitting under a tree and an apple fell on his head, and he thought, why is the apple falling down, why is it not going up? And and from then onwards he studied the law of gravity. How does gravity work? Marie Curie, one of the very few females who was uh, into science long, long, long ago. This was a male dominated field, and Marie Curie, very, very intelligent woman, she was a part of this. And she didn't win one Nobel Prize, but she won two Nobel Prizes. And because she found two new elements, polonium and radium. Albert Einstein, very well known physicist again, and he has given a lots and lots of theories, very influential scientist. He he discovered the photoelectric self, and he also developed the theories of relativity, which you will again learn future in the future years, coming years. Now let's move on to what are the uses of science. First is health and longevity. Because of science, we have a lot of technology. We have technologies, medical technologies such as X-ray. Then we have CT scan, which scans the brain. Very good innovation. Again, we have a lot of new medicines, lot of vaccines, lot of vitamins, minerals that can be consumed to eradicate diseases or to help prevent certain diseases. A lot of new medicines, and it has helped to increase the life of a human, not just a human, life of livestock, that is cows, sheep, goats, all of these as well gained a lot of increase in their life because of the improve in health and longevity because of science. Next is transport. We have so many modes of transport. Uh, I already mentioned we have waterways, airways, roadways, railways, so many different ways of transport. Transport is not a barrier anymore because of science. Communication. We have so many modes of communication now that it is, in fact, confusing for us uh, to know which one to use. Not just these, here we can see Facebook, email, Skype, telephone, LinkedIn, so many different modes of communication. There are more such as Instagram, we have Telegram, so many different modes of communication because of satellite and a lot of discovery that was done in this field, such as satellites which revolve around our planet, the internet. All this is because of science. Clothing, a lot of different materials as well, such as there's cotton, there's silk, there are different patterns in clothing. Initially, it used to be hand sewn, everything would be hand sewn. Now we have different machines to do these tasks, and that is again because of science. Appliances and gadgets, innumerable number of gadgets. You might be using all of these. Recreation for our entertainment. We have so many things. We can watch Netflix and chill on our laptop, on our TV, on our phone. We have different games, amazing games. We have again a lot of video streaming apps and lot of games as well. So recreation wise also our quality has improved because of science. Energy. We require a lot of electricity, of course, for the working of all these gadgets that we discussed, for these modes of communication. And for that, also, we have found a solution. Because of science, we get energy from wind, from solar panels, we get energy from offshore, like coal, and we do mining and everything, and we get a lot of energy from that as well. With the uses of science, there will of course also be misuse of science. So let's also see the misuse of science, where science was done for things that harmed our planet or harmed us. Waste. Clearly, because we use a lot of things, we also generate a lot of waste, lot of plastic waste, glass waste, medical waste, which maybe cannot be recycled and therefore is very, very hazardous to our health and to our planet. Polluting gases, gases emitted from vehicles, gases emitted from various machines. Again, they pollute our earth, our planet. Poisonous gases, lot of industries generate a lot of poisonous gases and they are released in the atmosphere as well, and that is again very, very bad for us. That is another misuse of science. Bombs and weapons. This is one of the greatest misuses of science. Creation of weapons which were not just made to protect but also to attack the enemy, which is another very big misuse of science and which threatens the life of our entire civilization as well. Therefore, science is useful as well as it has its misuses. So, I would suggest you talk to a friend today and discuss the various uses of science and the misuses of science. It can be a topic of debate as well. It can be a fun discussion on whether science is a curse or a boon. So that's it for today. I will see you later. I hope you like this video. If you have any questions or any doubts, please don't hesitate to put them in the comment section below. Bye bye. See you later.